Hey there riders, Moto Journo Kris here today. I'm here with my Transalp and a Ventura rack. Now, importantly, I haven't seen that much coverage of the Ventura racks for the Transalp motorcycle, which in some ways makes a little bit of sense, but in other ways is a little bit surprising to me because the Ventura racks are a really good solution. So I'm gonna have a look at the installation process and then this particular setup that I've got here, which is using one of my old bags and racks and the new L brackets on the Transalp. And then I'll also give you my kind of overall thoughts about really kind of whether this might be right for you and what I think of it. Let's go through the step-by-step fitment process of the L brackets onto this particular bike. It almost doesn't need explanation. It's such a quick thing. The instructions provided do explain everything well. Probably the only hiccups I personally had was I read one set of bolts and made an assumption I shouldn't have, and that tripped me up a little bit. But the way it is that you've got a longer bolt at the front, a shorter bolt at the back, and that reflects basically the L bracket design, which has a longer spacer at the front and a shorter spacer at the back as to how it mounts on. You get two different sets of washers. You put the big washer on the top when you're putting the bolt through the carrier, and the smaller washer goes before the nylock on the bottom of the bolt after your L bracket. Really, really simple. So you've got your long bolt at the front, you've got your short bolt at the rear, you've got all of your big washers on the top of the carrier, you've got the L brackets in place, and then you have your small washer and your nylock bolt. As far as getting things fitted, it's really, really simple. All you need to do is probably put those bolts in and then get your L bracket and you just run it up onto those bolts. There's not a lot of clearance for this front bolt, which is very, very close to the tail. And so I would just probably recommend lifting that bolt a little bit, and you can probably lift both of them at once to get the L bracket on in place, and you can drop them in. And when you want to get your nut onto particularly that front bolt, I'd just lift it up a little bit to make it a little easier, and you've got plenty of clearance. So it's not an issue at all. And then also once we've got the system in place and it's all tightened up, you'll see here there's just the tiniest amount of clearance there to the tail, so it's not going to be hitting the tail and causing any problems whatsoever. So you've got a super easy to install system. As I said, probably 5 minutes work tops if you've got all your tools ready. You read the instructions thoroughly and then do everything right and basically just tighten everything up. No dramas whatsoever. The only thing I will mention is that when you're getting those L brackets in place, I did put the rack on to basically ensure that when I tightened them up, they were in the right orientation, to make sure that I wasn't having to force the rack onto this system. Because essentially the way it works is your rack has some feet on it that go into this little mounting system on the L bracket, and then you just tighten the bolt up and you're good to go. It couldn't be simpler. Apart from that, there's really nothing to it. It is a really cool, really elegant solution. Anyway, we'll take this off. That's the Evo rack there. It is a little bit rusty because it's a number of years old now. And then all we've got is these nice little small L brackets here. 2 bolts on each side, 2 washers on each bolt, 1 nylock nut, and you're pretty much ready to go. As far as the tools that you'll need for this installation, again, it is really, really simple. It is 13mm wrench and basically a hex or Allen key, 6mm. I've obviously got it on the socket because it just makes life a little bit easier. And all you're doing is tightening these up, which I've already done, and it doesn't get any easier than that. Super easy, probably a 5-minute job if you're on the ball. And if we're talking about adjusting the legs on one of these little racks, which actually have these adjustable legs, which unlike the very early Ventura racks, which had a fixed leg system, these will fit on way more bikes because you can adjust them to suit even if the distance between the 2 L brackets is a little bit different, where on the originals, they were fixed. So this is a much better solution, and if you want to adjust the legs on that, you'll need a 5mm hex or Allen key, which again, I've just got the one that matches here, and you can then basically adjust it a little bit. The other thing that's quite cool that I'm going to mention now is, so these legs, as you can see here, I've got them bent back under the rack, which if you're running it over the rear of the bike, brings everything closer in this way, but you can also turn them around and move it further over the back of the bike, which is probably going to be more important if you've got a pillion on the back, because they need their seat room and you don't want your rack kind of intruding into their space and hitting them, because there is this bar here which the bag straps onto. You don't want that hitting them in the back and causing issues. You're going to have an unhappy pillion, and an unhappy pillion is an unhappy ride. So yeah, really, really simple. I think this is might be the 20 litre EVO bag. As you can see here, the nice flat, really minimalistic EVO rack, which is a great option for sports bikes. And on this particular machine, I think if you've got a whole heap of Ventura bags that you enjoy and that you want to make use of, and you want the ability to switch between them, then the Ventura rack is still a really good option. The little L brackets here are tiny. It's one of the smallest implementations, because on a lot of bigger bikes, the L brackets run down to a support point, like down where the pillion pegs mount or anything like that. But because Honda have this big carrier on the rear of this particular bike, it does mean that they can have this really short little bracket, little L bracket, and these will set you back about $279. So they are a little bit on the pricey side for such a small piece of kit. And if you buy the L brackets, the rack and the bag all together, I think you get a better value deal overall. So that's worth keeping in mind. And they also have adapters for top boxes. And the reason I mention the top box adapter is because not only can you run obviously the Ventura luggage, which is generally like this soft luggage, soft bags, there's all different types. But then if you wanted the ability to swap between those bags and the hard luggage, you can do so quite easily, as opposed to just fitting the hard luggage straight onto the carrier, which is kind of your other option. So we've got the EVO rack here. I have loosened the lock nuts here, which again make this really, really easy. Now, as far as doing that on the run, they give you this little key which goes on your key ring, and these nuts basically can be adjusted by hand, which makes the removal quite easy. The bag just slides on. Obviously, there's a little bit of clearance under that rack there, but enough to get the clips through. You run basically these clips here, which you'll be able to see it just here, just there. That runs over the very back of the rack, clips into place. They've got these nice heavy duty clips as well. Tighten it down, you're good to go. If you've got a pillion, this will probably work quite well. If you don't have a pillion, basically what you want to do is turn that round, get those legs in place, jiggle it into position so it's right down, and then tighten it up. Obviously before riding, tighten these up because you don't want the thing falling off, and you tighten the bolt from the outside in, and then you put the lock nut in tight against it as well. Very, very secure. I've never lost a rack, I've never lost a bag, and I've done a lot of kilometers with various Ventura luggage. Okay, so just as with the EVO rack, what I've actually got here is my Coocase universal mounting plate. When they say universal, it is important to note that this mounting plate is specific to my 48 litre bag, the top box that I just bought. I used to have a little Coocase Wizard top box, which was a smaller one. It only fit one helmet in it, and I wanted to try out the bigger one. And the mounting plates, I had thought they were the same. They're not the same. And so you can't interchange in between the top boxes on the same mounting plate. What you need if you want to run one of these mounting plates onto your Ventura rack is these little brackets here. And these are a little kind of L-shaped bracket with a leg on them. They're a little bit different than your traditional racks, and basically just what they let you do is they let you bolt that rack into the Ventura feet, and then it'll fit your Ventura rack, which of course goes on just like that. You put your plate in permanently once you've got that all sorted and you've got it all figured out. It does take just a little bit of finagling, and there are some screws you can put in as well to clean up that install. I haven't done it yet because I'm still in the process. And then you've got a top box rack on. Obviously, again, always tighten up your bolts to hold it in place. I'm not properly tightening that up. I'm just reminding you that it's an important job. And then we can go grab our top box, which I'm going to do, and we'll chuck that on. And you'll get an idea of the Coocase on the Ventura rack system using that as your mount instead of direct mounting. Okay, a big top box. Now, we're just going to put this on the bike. So it clips in at the front. We'll make sure it's in the unlocked position. Unlocked. And it clips in. And while it's unlocked, obviously we can press that bottom button and it'll clip the whole box off the mounting plate. But we'll clip that in, or we can press the top one. You can open up your top box. As I said, it's a nice big one, and you do have the option to add lights into these. And that's it, it's locked. You turn the key to the locked position that way, and then you can remove your key. It's all very, very solid, stuck right on. I've already done 350 kilometers with this on the back of the bike. It didn't have much in it, but nice and secure. There were no issues there. So just to give you an idea of kind of the flexibility of the Ventura system, it is very, very possible to go the top box route like this. And the other thing to note is you can take the whole top box off with the Ventura rack adapter system on it, and that's really easy to do as well. And in doing that, because these are actually a straight shot down, they've got no bottom on them, even if they do get a bit of water on them, it's not the end of the world. The water is just going to run straight out and off it goes, and you're good to go. You don't have to worry about anything filling up, like the L brackets filling up with water or anything like that. So yeah, another little advantage of the Ventura system. And then you've got the feet to put it on something nice and safe. Bit of water from my long ride in the rain yesterday still coming out of the rack, not the top box, and yeah, good to go. So, a couple of points of note. I am a big fan of Ventura. My very first bike had a Ventura rack on it. I got given a bag. It was a great solution. It was one of the big Euro rallies, which is the square bags. They've got, I think, like an Aero Strata, I think it is, which is a much sexier bag if you really like the sporty look. I always went with the utilitarian look because that bag could expand up and hold a huge amount of stuff. You could chuck in a slab of beer and have room for some shopping as well. It was exceptional. And certainly if you were doing all your workhorse kind of activities, including your shopping on a bike like the Transalp, then this well could be a great solution for you. So yeah, that's it. Any questions, let me know down below in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. Whether it's about this particular application, the bags that I'm using, that I've got. The Coocase video will be a separate video that will be out soon. So stay tuned for that. And as always, stay safe out there and thanks for watching.